So the first step we're going to have to do to 3D print our design from Tinkercad is remove the SD card from the Ultimaker 3D printer in the MacLab. You'll notice that the screen right now here is blank because the printer is turned off. I could have the printer on and eject the card. There is a power switch on the back of the printer, so that turns it on. The only time I wouldn't want to eject the card is if it was actually printing. So we can see that the machine is not running. So I'm going to eject that card. I'm just going to push this and remove the card. And then the next step will be to insert this in one of the Macs in the lab to prepare a file. Okay, so the next step is going to be to place the memory card into the Macintosh computer. I'm going to just place that right in here. And press that firmly inside till it stops. Okay, now that you have an SD card inserted into the computer, we are going to open the Cura software. To access that software, I can just hit the command button next to the space bar and the space bar. You can see that I already searched for it. If I hadn't just searched for something, the bar would come up blank like this. And I'm just going to type in Cura, C-U-R-A. I'm going to double click on Cura, Ultimaker Cura. Ultimaker is the name of the company that makes our 3D printer. And that might take a couple moments to load. Once the software is open, we're going to get a picture of this is a model of the 3D printer. So it's going to give us an idea of what the thing that we made is going to look like on the printer. So the first thing I'm going to do, you'll notice there's nothing there. So we have to load our file. So I'm going to go to this folder right here, Open File. I'm going to go to Downloads. And remember that I had you rename the file. You should have your name on this. This will make it easier when you go to run the 3D printer. You'll be able to find your thing to print. So there's Ryan's first object. I'm going to click Open. Okay. Similar to in Tinkercad, I can move this around a little bit. It's just going to place it in the middle. You'll notice that the Z location is 0. We want it to be flat on the platform. And then I can put these back. I can type those back to 0, 0. And then I'll just place it in the middle of the platform. Now we're not going to do too many things with the settings. As I said before, if we look at our model right here, that my sphere, or this is I guess now an oblong spheroid, that underneath there, that's what we call an overhang. So 3D printing builds in layers and there's nothing to hold that up. So I just want you to notice that by default, it has this generate support. If you hover over that, you can read that explanation, but this will keep that. This will provide some temporary plastic that you'll pull off later as a way to support that overhang. We're going to go ahead and add the build plate adhesion. This is just, both of these just help us get a better print. We're not going to make any changes. You should see this as printing to the Ultimaker 2 Plus. The material is PLA. That's the kind of plastic. It comes out of a small nozzle. We have a 0.4 millimeter nozzle, so that's correct. We're not going to make any changes with the layer height or the infill. Basically, we're ready to go. All we had to do was open the file. I'm going to click Prepare. Okay, and since I already inserted my SD card to the computer, it knows it's there and it's giving me the option save to removable drive. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. One thing I will point out, 3D printing is not super quick. It's not fast at all, actually. So you'll notice that this creation that I've created will take 1 hour and 34 minutes to produce. And you'll notice it gives you a breakdown of all the different pieces of that 3D printing. So I'm going to click Save to Removable Drive. It says Save to Removable Drive as UM2 Ryan's first object G-code, and this is what will appear on the 3D printer as we scroll through the list. We'll be looking for that. So I'm going to click eject. It says safely remove hardware, ejected Ultimaker 2. You can now safely remove the drive. So now it's okay for us to remove that from the computer. After you've double checked that you've ejected the SD card from the computer, you can just pull it out. Okay, now that we have our file ready on the SD card, we're ready to print it on the Ultimaker 3D printer. First step is you're going to reach around the left side of the printer with your hand, and you'll feel for a rocker switch that will turn the printer on. You'll know that you were successful when the lights turn on. The next step will be to take that SD card and you're going to insert it into the card slot, and you'll notice it will click in. Next, we're going to use this jog wheel, and we can notice that we have three different choices: print, material, and maintenance. Okay, we want to highlight print. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit the center of the jog wheel. Okay, and instead it was reading the SD card. Now we're going to have a list of all the files that are on there. And I'm looking for UM2 with my name on it. Scrolling through these, I'm not sure if they're in any sort of order, but of course last on the list is Ryan's first object, and then I will just hit the center of the wheel when I'm highlighting my file, and the printer will start. You'll notice on the screen it says heating up. The print head has to get to over 100 degrees Celsius, and once it gets warm enough, the printing will start. You'll want to make sure before you start your print job that the build plate is free of any printing material and objects. So if someone may have left an object before you, you'll want to take that off before you start the printer. Now that an hour and 40 minutes has elapsed, the print is now finished. So the last step would be just to remove it from the platform. Usually you can just lift it up. Sometimes you have to use your fingernails to kind of peel up at the edge, but then it should just pop off. And then you'll see that it has this extra material, and then I can just kind of pull that off. Now you might notice that the pieces on the sphere part, those are a little harder to get off, so you might need to use a pair of needle nose pliers to kind of grab that and crack it off. But there's our print.